Omnivore, we eat everything. Like a monkey, you know, oh well. Lots of possum. Oh, bear is a carnivore. So how come they put bear in the bear is an omnivore, huh? Okay. Scavenger or detrivore, saprotroph or decomposer. They should put decomposer here. Because we used the word decomposer in the previous slides, so try to be consistent. Decomposer, so they are scavenger or detritivore. Saprotroph. So they eat dead or decay matter. Well, okay, personally, I don't like this kind of pictures. Okay, they look very gross. I don't like bugs, sorry. And then decomposers. Okay, they are heterotroph. They are also heterotroph, but they are mainly bacteria and fungi. They break down non-living. Non-living, usually they are dead. Okay, this is what we call dead organic matter. And then they release the inorganic matter to be used by the producer. So yes, in other words, they break down the dead body and then recycle the inorganic matter back to the earth, to the environment, to the ecosystem. Detritus is a special term. They decompose organic matter. So all decomposer, they put it here. Okay, this is an example of the exam question. Producers in the ecosystem are also called. Okay, I'll give you 5 seconds to answer this question. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Time's up. So producer is also known as autotrophs. Okay, I hope you got it correct. Okay, let's take a look at the flow of the energy and nutrient. Very simple. As we said that the sun is the ultimate source of energy, so everything starts with solar energy. And then the solar energy is captured by the plants or producers when they do photosynthesis. During photosynthesis or when they absorb the solar energy, part of the solar energy is lost as heat from the plant, okay? And then consumer, let's say the herbivore or primary consumer, they will eat the plant. And then we have a tertiary consumer like the carnivore, they will eat the primary consumers. So some of the energy is also lost by heat. It's not 100% perfect transfer of energy, but the nutrient from the plant will also go to the body of the animal. Remember the 4 major types of food? Yeah, this is what happened. And then after the consumer are dead, then they will be broken down by decomposers. While the decomposers are breaking down those animals, some of the energy will also be lost as heat, and then the nutrient will go back to the earth and recycle in the ecosystem as inorganic nutrient molecule to feed the producer, so the producer can use them for photosynthesis. Of course, producer can also die, and after producer is dead, then the decomposer will also break down the producers and recycle the nutrient back to the earth. So energy enters you in the form of sunlight. Yes, it's the ultimate source of energy absorbed by producers. Yes, most of the producers, they can do photosynthesis, except the archaea. Archaea bacteria, they don't do photosynthesis, they do chemoautotroph. They use other chemical to make their food. Chemical enter producer take when producer take in inorganic matter. For example, what are the inorganic matter that I told you before? They are the CO2, carbon dioxide, and water. Because these two are the inputs or the inputs of the photosynthesis. And then producer can make the organic nutrient. Again, okay, what are the organic nutrient? Well, if you remember what I mentioned before, it's the glucose, the sugar. For themselves and the consumer. Herbivore and omnivore, well, I would say carnivore as well. They should include carnivore here. Carnivore. Carnivore. Gain nutrient and energy from eating producer, correct? Oh, eating producer. Oh, no wonder. Then there should be no carnivore then. Eating producer. So it is eating producer. Then it should be that. Higher level consumer. They are carnivore. Okay. Okay, carnivore. When they gain nutrient from eating herbivore and omnivore. Okay, that makes sense. Omnivore can also eat carnivore. Just like human being, we eat a lot of carnivore. Do we? Yeah. Chicken. Chicken is a carnivore. Okay. Omnivore eat carnivore. Some energy is released in each element in the form of heat and waste product. So what are the waste product we release to the environment? For example, we release, well, again, CO2. We release, well, when we pee, we release water. Yeah, something like that. So that these two will become the input for the photosynthesis for the producer. And remember, these two, they are from cellular respiration. So we animal release the byproduct of cellular respiration back to the environment so that producer can use them to make more food for us. So it's like I call this a mutualism. It's one of the symbiotic relationship. So decompose again from breaking down organic remains and waste, recycling biochemical compounds to inorganic nutrient, closing the cycle. Yes, so nothing is wasted. Our body, as I told you, that is made up of the 4 major molecules. So a decomposer can use these 4 major molecules for feeding and recycling. So I already went through this picture in detail, so I'm not going to go through it again. So only 10% of food energy taken by the herbivore is passed on to the carnivore. Why? Because there are lots of heat they lose to the environment when the herbivore is alive, and then only the energy for growth and reproduction will go to the carnivore when they eat it. And then the excretion, defecation means number 2. Okay, increase. In case you don't understand defecation, it means number 2. Excretion can be number 1. Okay, death, well, you know what it means. It goes to the decomposer or detritus. Okay. So the flow of the energy flow can be by diagramming food webs, or a food web is made out of food chain. Okay, when you have multiple food chain, they form the food web. In here, in here, in here. They form food web. Grazing food web begin with the producer. Yes, everything begin with I should say everything should begin with the sun. Okay, where's the ultimate source of all the energy, and then it goes to producer. And detrital food web begin with the detritus. So you have two food web: grazing food web and detrital food web. So the detritus food web include the detritus approximately in this part, and then the grazing food web, basically everything on top of the ground. Antarctic food web. Okay, 5 types of trophic level. Trophic level is like the feeding level. So at first, krill is phytoplankton. Phytoplankton, they are like the producer. Okay, krill, they are the primary consumer. And then you have the humpback whale, fish, squid, they are the secondary consumers. And you have tertiary consumer, penguin, seal, and then penguin, and then I couldn't see the birds. These are the tertiary consumer. And then leopard, seal, and killer whales, they are the tertiary consumers. Or killer whales eat everything. They just open their mouth when they're swimming, then everything goes into the mouth. Okay, trophic level. Trophic level, you can see that is organism that fit on particular link in the food chain. Okay, now we go back to food chain. I already told you that multiple food chains form the food web. For example, leaves, they are the producer, eaten by caterpillar, which is the primary consumer. And then tree birds, they are the carnivore. They can eat caterpillar. That's why they are the secondary consumer. And then you have hawks. Hawks, they eat tree birds, so they are the tertiary consumer. So do not get confused or mixed up by the Roman numeral here. So these Roman numerals tells you the trophic level. So the first trophic level is leaves or plants. Second one is caterpillar. Third trophic level is tree birds. And then the fourth trophic level is hawk. But caterpillar is also known as the primary consumer, tree bird aka secondary consumer, hawk aka the tertiary consumers. And leaves, of course, is the producer. So you can see that, okay, plants or phytoplankton, they are the primary producer. When plant eaten by the herbivore, in this case, it is like a grasshopper or a locust. I think it should be grasshopper. And then zooplankton, they are the primary consumer. And then carnivore, like the mouse, it can eat the grasshopper. And then you have some fish, smaller fish, they can eat the zooplankton. And then there is a stronger and more dangerous snake that will eat the primary consumer, the carnivore. And And there is also a more dangerous animal is the sharks. They eat small fish. And last but not least, the carnivore from the sky, the eagle. They kill the tertiary consumer. And also carnivore, the killer whales. When he swims, he just open his mouth and it take in everything. It's so convenient. So these are the different. This tells you the ecological pyramid. It is by way of the mass. Mass is like the total, the amount of the living organism. For example, producer. They have the largest or highest mass because we have lots of producer. And a herbivore, well, and carnivore, and top carnivore, all these, you can see that the pyramid is getting smaller, smaller, and smaller, because the mass is less and less. Why? Because the number of animal in each trophic level, they are getting less and less. So ecological pyramid, only 10% of the energy one trophic is available with next trophic energy. That's the major argument for vegetarian, because when they eat vegetables, they claim that they can gain more energy than eating a meat. Represent amount of available energy on each trophic level. Yes. This one is pretty straightforward. So you can see that top carnivore, they don't have much choice. The lower you are in the trophic level, the more choice, the more freedom, the happier you will be. A producer are at the base, the most available energy given up by in less usable form as producers are eaten by primary consumers. Okay, it's pretty straightforward. Biomass, the number of organisms at each level multiplied by their weight. So this is another good way to study the ecology using biomass. Okay,